Hey guys, so today we are going to talk a little bit about building better habits. Okay, so building better habits. So the first thing I want to go over here is this quote: "Long term consistency beats short term intensity." And this doesn't necessarily mean that short term diets or programs are bad, but you do have to think about what happens afterwards. So yeah, you might make some short-term progress, but when the diet is over, then what happens? Because diets that work via suffering and restriction fail when people no longer want to suffer or be restricted. That's almost always the case in with short-term go hard or go home style diets. So obviously the best nutrition approach you can take is the one that you can stick to long term. That's why we have our three nutrition rules because they're flexible, they can fit your preferences, your lifestyle, and your individual tastes. And another good part of our nutrition rules is that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to get better over time by gradually building better nutritional habits. Now, there will always be blips because getting result isn't a linear process. But over time, building better habits wins for long term success and for maintenance of fat loss. So, what is a habit? Well, a habit is a behavior that we put on autopilot, and they're vital f- part of us getting the results that we desire. So, now let's go through the process of designing and implementing a new habit. First of all, a habit must be obvious. You have to easily understand how putting this habit into place will positively affect your goals. So, studies have shown the closer a habit links to your goals, the more likely you are to follow through with it. And the more complicated or harder it is for us to see the connection between the habit and our goals, the less likely we are to feel in control of it and the less likely we are to stick to it. So it's important to make it really simple and really obvious how the habit links to the goal that you're trying to achieve. Next, the habit must be pretty frequent enough that it can be subconscious. This means that your new habit must be done ideally every day, or at least almost daily for this to happen. So, trying to turn something like I'm going to start swimming once a month into a habit is highly unlikely to happen. The habit must also have a trigger. So, by definition, habits are triggered by something in our environment, something that happens to us that's going to trigger that. For example, you go into the bathroom in the morning, you see your toothbrush, and you brush your teeth. So, seeing your toothbrush is that trigger to build that habit to brush your teeth. So, if you don't have a trigger, then you can't create a new habit. Now, a really easy way to create a trigger is to do what's called habit stacking. Now, this means using an existing behavior or trigger to be the trigger for your new habit. So, let's say that you want to stretch more, you want to become more mobile, and also let's say that you're already in the habit of having coffee every morning when you get up from bed. So, you could do something as simple as leaving a post it note saying stretch next to your kettle or coffee machine. Then stretch while the coffee boils. That way, you can start to build a habit of stretching every morning by piggybacking on a habit that you already subconsciously have, i.e., having your coffee. Think of it this way: any new habit that piggybacks an old one should be able to fit into this statement. Before or after your current habit, I will do so. So before or after having my coffee, I will stretch more. So this example would be after I put on a coffee machine in the morning, I will stretch for 2 minutes. That's your trigger. The fourth point is that the habit must be achievable. So with any new habit, you must be 90 to 100% certain that you can achieve this new habit on a daily basis. Now, you might feel fired up right now, motivated to make some massive changes to your lifestyle, but don't overshoot it or set targets too high, because when it comes to building better habits, it's actually more important to just succeed than it is to go all out and try to be perfect straight away. If you're too optimistic, you might fail to implement the new habit frequently enough to turn it into a behavior that you can do on autopilot. So try and make it easy enough and try and make it that it pretty much feels like it's impossible for you to fail. And the last point is it must be 100% in your control. This is really important. As an example, set a new habit to get 8 hours sleep per night. That's not always going to be in your control. If you have kids, if you have a stressful work life balance, then that's not going to be in control because you may not be able to fall asleep. There might be an alarm going off outside. You might have your kids. There are things that you can't control, but you can control your sleep routine. So instead of aiming to get 8 hours sleep every night, aim to improve your sleep routine by not using your phone for 30 minutes before bed. They're the 5 steps for designing a new habit. The last part is to write this up into your habit statement. And you should do this every time you want to implement a new habit. And the statement goes like this: I am 90 to 100% certain that I will action when trigger in order to outcome. So you've got the action, new habit that you're going to implement. You've got the trigger, that's when you're going to do it. And you've got the outcome, the reason why you're doing this habit, and what goal it will help you achieve. So, using our example from earlier, I am 90 to 100% certain that I will stretch when I put the coffee machine on in order to improve my flexibility. So that's how you go about designing and implementing a new habit. If you need any help with this, or if you're not sure what habit you need to pick to start, or and just speak to your coach, and they'll help you pick one that'll give you a good return on a small, simple behavioral change. Okay, guys, great stuff. That's lesson 2 wrapped up. Stay tuned for lesson 3.